Glenn, how are you? Panicked! Things are bad. They're getting a little bit better. No, they're bad! That's what we're going to get today, the ups and downs of the market every 10 seconds.
I got to tell you, I'm not concerned, so it could be very, very, very bad.
No, when you're not concerned, it's always the worst possible thing.
I'm actually okay through all of this. I'm not like panicked or anything, and
that's because you're an evil rich person, Glenn.
No. Lost a lot of money last week as an evil rich person. Yeah, a lot of money. A lot of money. No, just don't think that it was, I don't know. Jim Cramer's out there. And Jim Cramer's kind of the opposite of me. Whatever he says, then,
I think this is... people are always so tough on Jim Cramer. It's BS. The poor guy goes out there and he makes a bunch of stock predictions. Leave him alone.
Honey.
Yeah.
Just trying to sell it.
Okay. Sorry.
He's wrong. Anyway.
Okay.
Bloodbath, crash, Black Monday, Asian markets sliding as we speak. We are now 21 minutes and 26 seconds away from the open.
From the apocalypse. I mean, look, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? We've had, 2 or 3 really, really bad days in a row. 4-digit drops.
Yeah.
You'd prefer to avoid those. I don't think we'll see another whole... it would be surprising, even during COVID. I'm thinking back to the COVID days when, there's a real reason for stocks to be dropping, right? We're just turning all of our businesses off for 6 months.
I think this is all fear.
In that period, though, we still saw days of big gains. So I would think that it's going to bounce around wildly is what we're going to see until this thing settles. And if it continues to escalate, for example, we put all these tariffs on China. They responded with 34% tariff of their own. What Donald Trump promised going into this is that he would, if you raise tariffs on us, we're going to continue to raise them on you, right? I don't want that to happen,
right?
But if he goes there and then China goes there and we have this escalation, I would assume this is going to last longer.
So far, you have 50 countries that have asked to negotiate the tariffs. They're like, we've rethought this. Maybe we'll negotiate. Vietnam went to zero.
Good? Are we happy with that outcome?
I'm happy with negotiating tariffs down.
So you want them to zero?
I would love them to be at zero.
You would love them.
I'd love to.
I would love them to be at zero.
I would love them to be at zero.
Okay.
That would be.
So if a country turns them to zero, we should go to zero. Would be your policy.
That would be my hope.
Now that has not happened so far.
No, I know.
We hope that changes.
I hope that changes. Because
I'm with you. I hope that changes.
Their response to Vietnam was great. Now buy more of our stuff. And
this is an interesting thing. So Madagascar, for example, this is one that is on our list. We were tariffing.
Love their cartoon.
It's right. We import their cartoon animals.
Yeah.
Because where else are we going to get talking animals?
No,
we can't just find them in America. They're not in America.
Right.
I assume they're all bred in Madagascar.
Yes.
We keep getting those movies.
Talking animal factory over there. Yes, go ahead.
So Madagascar, we have a trade deficit with Madagascar. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. They make vanilla beans really well. Mm-hmm. We really love Americans love their freaking vanilla beans.
Yeah,
right?
Love them.
Okay, so we take in a lot of their vanilla beans.
Right.
You'll be surprised to hear that the people of Madagascar have very little appetite for our high-level financial software that we export. They don't want to take any of that.
Wow.
In fact, they don't have any money to buy anything that we sell.
Wow.
So we have a trade deficit with them.
Okay.
That seems to me to be very logical.
That one seems to be one we should negotiate. We should, on our side, we should be okay, Donald, Madagascar, we might want to just look the other way on that one.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Australia is the opposite, right? Where they have, we have a trade surplus with them, largely because the things that we export, they
need,
technology and stuff need. Yeah. The things that they export, which are actually also valuable.
Stuffed kangaroos.
Not talking ones. Those only come from Madagascar.
Crocodile boots.
Crocodile Dundee actors.
Yeah, okay.
That if they need another sequel.
Yeah, we got that.
But stuff like metals. There's an article about this that I was reading recently that metals was the example where we're pretty good at coming up with that stuff ourselves. We don't need to export. It's far away. They're heavy to ship.
Yeah, sure.
Not a great thing to export. So we have a trade surplus with them.
Have we tried tying them to helium balloons?
No.
All right, just saying.
Just saying. So that's one other part of the negotiation. We could do more. I don't know where helium balloons come from, but whatever that country that is, we have to work with them. But the point
God help us, I hope it's Madagascar.
A lot of these arrangements makes sense. There's a reason why we have a deficit or a surplus.
Sure.
And like that is that's
but
how
there
it's
shouldn't be
supposed
for
to
like
work.
a place like Ireland. I mean, we buy a lot of Lucky Charms.
That's true.
And,
too many.
Too many. Maybe we can slow down on that, and we might. Ireland.
Oh, no.
We might slow down on me Lucky Charms. So
all leprechaun themed items.
Yeah.
That's
anything green beer, all of it.
What about the leprechaun movies? Because we made like 7
I
or 8
banned
of
those already in my own private little kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so we are possibly looking, and the reason why they're saying it's this could be Black Monday. I don't know if anybody remembers Black Monday happened in 1987, and the Dow dropped 508 points. That was 22% in one day. So the Dow at what 4,200, right around 4,200. That would be looking at almost a 10,000 point plunge today if it was Black Monday. That would be significant.
Yeah.
That would be significant.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Don't think that's going to happen. Well, you don't know. Well, it wouldn't happen because we'd close the market. Because after Black Monday, we're like, we should close the market. When that happens again, maybe we should just go, everybody needs to take a breath, have a seat. Okay. But it wasn't the end of the world, right? I mean, 22% drop. It was not the end of the world. It didn't happen. By the 87, we were seeing cracks because of greed, basically. Deregulation, tax cuts, a sense of invincibility. We always go through these cycles, and everybody started to get greedy and buying stocks, and then it just went too high, and we had problems with computers and everything else, and boom, it was out. Okay, so what happened? Last week, $5 trillion wipeout. Not a glitch. It was an actual reaction to Trump and his tariffs. 10% base tariff on all oil imports. Bigger hits on India and China. Those are real numbers. Okay. Jim Cramer said that was a policy nuke. I don't know. I just have a different look on this. I don't know why. I just have a different feel on this one. I feel like, you know what we're not talking about? What we're not talking about is this is the Great Reset. Except it's not the Great Reset. It's the Great Reset of the Great Reset. The Great Reset, we had 2 ways to go. And Donald Trump never said it this way, but I thought I had articulated this, and maybe I hadn't clearly enough, and I've been trying to say it for the last few days, so let me just be very, very clear. You had 2 choices. The world as we know it doesn't work. So the first choice was what Klaus Schwab was doing, where we could all eat, bugs, and they were going to reset everything, get away from the free market entirely, go all globalism, and push everything up to a global government. That would reset. Yeah, that would reset our economies. It would reset our dollar. We would go to a global currency. All of the stuff we've talked about for the last 5 years. That's real. That was happening. Donald Trump came along and said, "Don't like that. Don't want to do that."
That's good.
That's really good.
That's a good observation. We shouldn't do that.
The problem is you can't just not do that because the problems are real. The solutions, the way the world works now, no longer works. It doesn't work the way it did in 1946. It's not 1946 again. So we need to update the system and repair all of the damage that has been done for the Great Reset. Because remember, what was their plan? To manage the decline of the West. Just to keep it going enough so nobody really, and then it'll come in one violent shock and everybody will be like, oh my gosh, panic. And that's when they will finally change everything and make the final switch. That's the Great Reset. So Donald Trump, we elected him because we didn't want that, right? If you thought you were going to get a replay of 2016, you're mistaken because this time he gets it. Remember we said, the 2020 election was really good, it turns out, because he had time to think and realize what he was fighting and where everybody is and make a plan. This is part of his plan. And he told us, now he didn't say about the Great Reset part, but he told us that we're going in a completely different direction. he told Europe that. He's told everybody that. That's what NATO is about. That's what all of this stuff is about. He's resetting the system. So it will be an America first, and anybody else that wants to join us, England first, whatever, we'll all get around, we'll all get along, we'll trade, but we're not going to do it the way the globalists have done it. So what we're going through now is the shock to the system of the beginning of the shaking off the calcification of this system and restarting the engine and saying we're going in a different direction. Throw this thing in reverse. And so all of the gears and everything that has been turning one direction now for almost 100 years, and especially in the last 25 to 30 years with the Great Reset and the WEF and everything else, all those mechanisms, all those gears that have been going one way only, all of a sudden are grinding to a halt and reversing. That's what you're going to feel. Now, I didn't expect this to happen now. I mean, I was expecting that I would see progress on the border. I was hoping that I would see tax cuts by now. I was hoping I would see more regulation cuts by now, because those two things are vital before you put in the tariffs, or at least right after you put in the tariffs. It helps ease this pain. That's Congress. Haven't done their job. I don't know why he's not pounding his fist on their heads right now to get that job done. But that's what's happening. And this is why Donald Trump said over the weekend, what was it? I want to give his quote. He told the average Americans, hang tough. Just hang tough with me. I know it is bad right now, but this is an economic revolution, and we will win. Hang tough. It won't be easy, but the end result will be historic. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm not hoping that his tariffs work. I'm hoping for an economic revolution. I'm looking for the end result to be historic. And it's not just about money. It's about changing the entire system away from that system which was pounding America into the ground and managing our decline. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense to me.
You don't buy into it?
No, I do not.
Really?
I think Donald Trump had what I expected from Donald Trump. And again, we may very well see lots of things will change. There's no reason to believe this won't bounce back. And I'm not at all. We still have to see how all this works out.
9 minutes and 38 seconds away from the opening bell. Go ahead.
But I think it's reasonable to look at when Donald Trump re-election and say to yourself, there were some things that went well and some things that didn't go well.
Yeah.
And what I did expect was him to continue with the policies that went well, the areas like, for example, the economy. I think the economy went really well during his first term.
It did.
And I thought we would get more of those policies and that similar approach. And then in something like the border, where
he's doing something different this time. He's not just.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I know, but he never gave any indication he was just going to rearrange the chairs at the same table again.
Well,
that's what he did last time.
He said we had the greatest economy we've had in a long time, and you could quibble with that back in 2019.
We did. However, to get there, you can change the levers and make things work a little better, but you're still managing a decline. Until you stop the spending, until you change the fundamentals of how this economy works, you're just
I certainly
rearranging.
I don't remember ever hearing a speech of Donald Trump saying he was managing the decline in 2019.
No.
That's not what he said he was doing.
I don't think he knew that. That's why I said in 2020 it was a blessing. I don't think he walked in. He didn't realize how deep this went. Stu, we didn't realize. When did we find out about the Great Reset? 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we found out about the Great Reset. I mean, nobody knew that this is really. We didn't know how deep this was.
It's just hard to. I mean, look again. He did hit these things. I'm not trying to, but like, if the cure to the Great Reset is Richard Trumka's policy platform for the last 30 years, it's shocking to.
I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair.
I mean, it's the same tariffs the guy's been calling for forever.
Yeah, but that's not all that he's calling for.
Certainly not.
Yeah. And hang on just a second. 7 minutes and 37 seconds away. Panic, everyone. Hang on just a second. We're going to come back to this. Mm-hmm. First, let me tell you about Lear Capital. Probably a good thing. Bit of a history buff. You remember, what this ship was like, in the early 1900s. Remember that ship called the Titanic? Made a movie out of it, I think. I'm not sure if anybody saw it, but here's the thing about the Titanic. They said it was unsinkable. Pretty much everybody believed that, too, until they sailed away with half the lifeboats that they needed. And it turns out, not unsinkable. Who would have thunk it? That is, that's a ship down at the bottom of the ocean now with a crap ton of her passengers now on the ocean floor. Completely unrelated news here. The U.S. dollar is unsinkable. Right? Hey, you might want to get a lifeboat just in case, okay? We're playing a serious game right now. I believe the captain can steer this to safety, but you never know. There's ice all over the water here. Lear Capital, call them now, 800-957-GOLD. If you're freaked out by the market, you should get into gold. Transfer that stuff and buy gold, okay? It is the hedge against insanity. Call them now. Get a free $4,200 gold report when you call 800-957-GOLD, 800-957-GOLD. You get up to $15,000 in free gold or silver with a qualifying purchase, 800-957-GOLD. Call them now. 10 seconds, station ID.
I think the hope for optimism is exactly what you said, which is the other part of this platform that is obviously not similar to Richard Trumka's policy platform, which is the regulation improvements and the tax cuts.
Right.
It's hard for an economy, I think, to deal with only one of the parts of that platform. And when you have the tariffs come in, which again, tariffs were part of Donald Trump's first term as well, but they were targeted.
Sure.
And, I talked to Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation. He pointed out, he's like, I think we would advise the president to try to make these as targeted as possible was a very nice way he put that.
Sure.
And I think like that, what he did there is, he did it on washing machines, right? And he did it on washing machines. And the washing machine thing, my argument was it would not be a successful policy. I think it cost more than it was benefited us. However, our country can swallow something like that, right? Sure. Every president does something like that, and our country can swallow it. When you're doing it in this wide scale, our country can still swallow it. I think we'll still live. We'll be fine. But it's
I think what he's doing, though, I mean, the guy, I don't know if you've noticed this, he's not subtle.
No, he's been very clear.
In any way, shape, or form. Right. That guy is not subtle. I mean, if he picks his underpants like he lives his life, he's wearing red leopard underpants right now. Okay, he's not subtle. And I think if you look at what Starmer said over the weekend, the end of globalism is here, and so we're going to start doing, Britain first kind of policies. Now, I find that fascinating, especially a guy who is knee deep in the World Economic Forum. However, that I think is what Donald Trump is doing. He is telling everyone in the world, we're going another direction. And we highly recommend you go in this direction too. If you don't come to the table with a sledgehammer, you're not going to get the people who are already skittish because their people are starting to revolt against them. And Klaus Schwab is telling them, they're telling the leadership, you stay in place, don't trust the system, it'll work. Really? Doesn't seem to be working. Donald Trump is coming with a sledgehammer to break this apart. I say, hold on.
This is Glenn Beck.
By the time this program ends, another family farm in America will have closed its doors. Maybe for good. Wow. By the time today this program is over, it's dangerous. Every farm or ranch we lose is another piece of what makes this country special, and that goes away. Things like hard work, independence, real food coming from actual farms that are owned by actual people, not just corporations. And those things are slipping away from us. It is time to spring into action and change things. For generations, American farmers have been waking up before the sun, working long until after it sets. so you can have food on your table and I can have food. So now maybe it's time for us to show up for them. This is where Good Ranchers comes in. They deliver high-quality American-raised meat straight to your door. And when I say American-raised, I mean every bite you take. Right now, you can get free bacon, ground beef, seed-free oil chicken nuggets, and salmon, all for a year, $40 off when you use the promo code Glenn at checkout. All you have to do is go to goodranchers.com, subscribe, get your choice of protein for a year. You're going to love the choices, all great stuff from America. Goodranchers.com, American meat delivered.
Head over to blazetv.com/Glenn. Use the code Glenn. Save $30 off your annual subscription to Blaze TV.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. I'm just working on a chalkboard here because Stu is bringing up some really good points, and I'm trying to figure out a way to explain this. It might take me all day to put this together, but I'll have one for you today. I'll have a chalkboard to explain exactly what is happening, what I think Donald Trump is doing.
I think that's really helpful. I think the American people, I mean, look, it's not me you need to convince, right?
No.
I'm not, it's not my favorite policy, but this is, you live and you live and you learn, you see how these things work out. I'm not all that worked up about it. But I will say that, the American people, there's a lot of people who don't follow this stuff on a day-to-day basis. And I think if the messaging is what it kind of has been so far, which is like,
suck it up.
Suck it up, be tough, we'll get through this. Look, I think we will. I think the American people are very tough. I think the economy is resilient. I think capitalism is a wonderful thing that usually winds up curing these problems in the long term. But I think that's going to be tough messaging. Let's just say pragmatically for the midterms. If we're down 30, 40%, which I don't necessarily think we are going to be, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But that messaging is going to be a tough sell, I think, to voters, especially the ones that aren't like, people who are more like, hey, the reason why I voted for Donald Trump was because Joe Biden was so bad and the economy was rough. I think it's going to be a tough sell to those people, not like the people who are like, okay, I'm a MAGA hat wearing, and those people aren't going to go anywhere, obviously. Like they believe in this vision and they've seen it coming for a long time. But I think those people in the middle might be tougher sells.
It should tell you something, however, you're saying, well, that's not going to work, just saying suck it up and, let's get through this. We're tougher than that. Because that was how FDR won 4 terms. That's all he did.
Yeah.
All of his policies were nightmares.
And that's the moral, we've made this argument many, many times, the moral equivalent of war, right? If the American people believe the moral equivalence of war, then they do tend to make those decisions. You're right.
Correct. Now, here's our Treasury Secretary, who I think is really very good. Listen to what he said to Tucker Carlson.
So the private sector, in essence, has been in recession during the Biden years. And this is an opportunity to right-size the federal government and unleash the private sector again, because it's been hemmed down by excessive regulation and it's been crowded out by the government.
Let me play a couple of other things here.
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah. That's I think was your point in that first monologue, right? Where it's more focus on that will help whatever drops we're having in the markets, for example. If he looks as dedicated to those types of policies, right-sizing government, which I think you've seen with Doge at some level, also tax cuts and regulation cuts, those things will excite the market. At the same time, these might not, and that can help even things out.
Let me give you Brian Decker. I want you to listen to this one. Listen to what he says about what Donald Trump is doing, cut 10.
Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. And this is why Warren Buffett just said Trump is making the best economic moves he's seen in over 50 years. Now, here's the secret game he's playing, and it could make you rich. So why is he doing this? To push cash into treasuries, which forces the Fed to slash interest rates in May, and those lower rates give the Fed the ability to refinance trillions of debt very inexpensively. It also weakens the dollar and drops mortgage rates. Now, it's a wild chess move, but it's working. Now, you're probably wondering, what about his tariffs? Well, I'll tell you, it's a genius play. It actually forces companies to build here to dodge them. It also forces farmers to sell more of their products here in the U.S. to bring grocery prices way down. We've already seen this with eggs. Now, remember, 94% of all stocks are owned only by 8% of Americans. So Trump, he's taking from the rich short term and handing it to the middle class through lower prices. Now, tariffs may seem like they're going up one day and down the next, but it's not wishy-washy. It's a strategy because investors hate surprises. So they sell stocks and rush into the safety of bonds. But mark my words, by summer, we will see Bitcoin and stock prices at a new all-time high.
Okay, I don't know about his whole theory, and I don't even know if this is what Trump is planning on doing, but the one thing that he said in there that is true is everybody's pulling their money out of the markets, and where does that money go? It goes to bonds. When people are pouring money into bonds, what does that do? It makes the price of bonds, or the return, it's the yield, it makes that go down because they're not having a hard time. Price, when you think of yields, think of price the government has to pay you to buy one. Okay, I want $100 bond. Okay, well, I get a lot in the stock market right now, but if the stock market is doing poorly, they don't really have to pay you a lot to convince you to get into it. I'll give you $101, for your 100. Okay, let us use it, and I'll give you 101 when it's over. When everything else is going well, nobody wants those treasuries, those bonds, and so we can't sell our debt. And it's like, I'll give you 110, 115, and that's our interest. And we're paying so much interest. So I don't think this is strategy, although Bassett is so smart, it might have been a consideration.
There's positives, right, that go along.
There are.
Like, they always talk about, the left used to do this all the time. When the economy would look bad, they'd be like, oh, well, gas prices are down. Yes,
because
they're
nobody's
down
working.
because there's less demand.
Correct.
Right? So there are, of course, going to be positives to any economic change. It's just a question of whether it would be, weighed out by the negatives. Again, that's not Trump's argument. That's just some guy. There's obviously a whole cottage industry of people who come up with arguments to justify everything on both sides of the equation. He is
a serial entrepreneur and financial expert.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's how he's described. I don't know him.
Right. I know. I'm not. I'm not even criticizing. I don't know him. I don't know anything about it. But would you have been okay if the idea was Donald Trump's going to get elected and intentionally crash the stock market?
I don't think that's
what he said. Literally, what he said.
I know, and I said I don't agree with everything.
Trump is doing.
I don't think Trump is doing that.
No, and I would not be also okay with someone who's just temporarily taking from the rich to give to the right. These are concepts that are not only not conservative, but are things that
un-American,
right? I don't want a centralized government crashing stock markets and stealing from the rich to give to the poor. That's not what I want at all. Now, if Donald Trump takes the positive outcome of this, if we do have lower, and we are starting to see some lowering rates, and implements a policy you and I have argued for many years to refinance this debt long term at lower rates, then we'll be taking a positive out of a situation that might be a little shaky and might lead to great things.
Correct.
So, of course, that's what you have to do as a president, and is to try to make lemonade out of lemons when you get the lemons.
Correct. And that would be a very good glass of lemonade. It's still lemonade. I still had some lemons. I didn't want to have lemons at all. I didn't want lemonade, but I'll drink the lemonade much more than the lemon. Yes. And that is a very good glass of lemonade.
It would be massively impactful to the country if he could get that.
If he does a massive refinance.
Yeah, at a low rate, and hopefully continues to go that way.
Yes.
But it's a tough game, and it is something that we advocated for this for a decade.
Yes.
We had guests on advocating for it. It is a massively important thing. So obviously rates coming down do good things, right? It helps people might be able to refinance some of their mortgage debt. It helps regular people too. So that is a side effect that could come from this.
And one that if we don't take care of could kill us. The debt. I
agree.
Debt and just the interest alone on the debt. I mean, you could make a case. I don't think that he did this intentionally, but I bet it was kicked around. I think the guys in the Treasury are smart enough to go, this is going to do. This will drive down the interest rates on our treasury bills, our yields, and we'll be able to you'll see things. You might see the housing market start to pick up, et cetera, et cetera. You'll see other things that are happening because the mortgage rates will go down. Okay. I don't necessarily think the mortgage rates going down or the interest rates going down is always a positive. I mean, look, we had 0% interest rates for a very long time. After a while, they become a very big negative. But right now, if the government took advantage of rates that were going down and we could lock in our debt at a much lower, that would take a big monkey off of our back. Because that is one that concerns me gravely. Biden didn't refinance anything. We had 0% interest. He didn't refinance anything. So everything is coming up now with high interest rates. It's just like you have a mortgage on your house. If you had an adjustable mortgage, how would you be doing right now? Right? Because you banked on your mortgage rate being a certain rate. And we have like an adjustable mortgage rate. Well, somebody needs to go in and refinance all of that. But you can't. You can't refi when the interest rate is so high. So that is one good thing. I don't think it was done intentionally, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad side effect. And I'll bet you it was one that they did talk about. But that doesn't... Look, I by the end of the show, I'll have it for you. It is, I am convinced, and I could be wrong. I have to tell you. Yeah, I can tell you everything that I'm saying is coming from me. And whenever I'm wrong, it's coming from me. I rely a lot on spiritual prompting, and I don't have any on this one, good or bad. I have none, which usually means, to me, it's not that important. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean bad things. It just means supposed to concentrate on other things. And I think those other things are the things that we talk about here all the time. And that is, how's your spiritual house? How's your family doing? How's your education? How are your kids holding up? How are you doing with social media? How are you doing with education? How are you doing with the things that actually matter? That, I feel that now, that is what at least I'm supposed to concentrate on right now. This is, honestly, I mean, I had monologues prepared for this, but it's taken me by surprise because Stu is so surprised by my reaction and like, no, that's not... That he's made me reevaluate absolutely everything I've said. No. It's a good way. That's your job. It's a good thing. But I don't know.
Well, I mean,
not worried about it.
I think, and again, this comes from a place of rooting Donald Trump on, because the things you just said, all those really vital, important things to the American people, I think Trump's doing a really good job on. Yeah. He's doing a really good job on all those things. And I want him to continue to do a good job on those things. And I want not only the next couple of years while he's president of the United States, I want those things to continue long term. And I am concerned that, look, not everybody thinks like we do. Not everyone's engaged in all these issues. A lot of people are going to look at their 401ks and are going to be like, geez, this sucks.
Yeah.
And that's going to be their summary of this period.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned. Because, look, I've got a 401k like everybody else. I don't like that it's down. It sucks. I'm pretty risk, I can deal with risk. I live in that world. So I am not all that concerned when it comes to that type of thing. But I am concerned about how much of the Trump agenda, if you want to call it that, I mean, I think it's the American agenda. I think it's largely a conservative agenda. Those things that he's been pushing for and doing a good job on, I want those to continue. And I do believe that if the economy does wind up seeing this as a long-term issue, and when we wind up seeing a downturn, that's the midterms are at risk. I mean, just looking at from general political analysis, you're going to see risk. Now, a lot of people are telling me, in my mentions when I talk about this stuff, they're like, oh, well, this is all going to turn around by summer, or it's going to turn around by the end of the year, and everything's going to be fine. And if that happens, obviously it will be, right? But you're introducing a new element of risk. And so I'm concerned about that risk.
I just want to leave you with what my father told me in 1987 after all this. I don't know, son. I don't know what's going on with the stock market, but people are still coming in and buying bread. Life's going on.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is.
That's
Life
true.
will go on. And right now is how much of this actually has affected you today? I think that's where when you hear the president say, it's going to get bumpy, hang on. He's talking to those people. He's not talking to the people who do this all day long, every day, and are like, my stock market, it's down.
Right.
He's not talking to those people. He's talking to the average person. You're still going to go in and buy bread at the grocery store. Things are going to get better. Things are getting better in many different areas. It's going to be bumpy. Hang on. Thanks, Dad. People today still are going into a bakery someplace buying bread. We still need bread. All right, back in just a second. I now present to you for your listening pleasure how not to find a real estate. Step 1, real estate agent. Go to a neighborhood Facebook group. Step 2, post. Anybody know a good real estate agent? Step 3, sit back and enjoy the next 800 or so replies from people who swear their cousin's boyfriend's neighbor is absolutely the best. Finding a real estate agent isn't like picking a pizza place. This is your home, your future, your money, and it's all on the line every single time you move. That's why over a decade ago, I started Real Estate Agents I Trust, and we handpicked the full-time seasoned professionals. We check them 6 ways to Sunday to make sure that they are square with our values, with best business practices. They know how to listen, and they'll fight to get the best deal for you. How do I know? Because they don't even make it onto our list until we vetted them and know they're the top seller they claim to be. RealestateAgentsITrust.com. The name says it all. Just tell us where you're buying and selling, either across the street or across the country, and we'll help you find the right real estate agent. It's RealestateAgentsITrust.com.
Common sense ain't common anymore, is it? Time to wake up and wrangle the sheep. Glenn Beck continues next.
Remember when Christian movies used to be kind of terrible? Like you could tell that their heart was in the right place when they were making it, and there's no question about that. But your eyes were sort of bleeding the whole time because you were watching the thing and you just really wanted it all to be over. The movie or either way was fine, honestly. Well, fortunately, over the last few years, those days have really come to an end, largely thanks to Angel Studios, the team behind Sound of Freedom and so many other great movies. They are back with a brand new film, and this is one you should absolutely be excited about. It's called The King of Kings. A father tells his son the greatest story ever told. And what starts as kind of a simple bedtime story turns into an epic journey. Through the boy's imagination, we walk alongside Jesus. We see the miracles. We feel the trials and tribulations. We understand the sacrifice. And it's a beautiful movie. It's animation's awesome, like really, really high quality. The cast is stacked with amazing voices, many of which you're going to know. Mark Hamill's in it, Ben Kingsley, Pierce Brosnan, Uma Thurman, Forrest Whitaker. It's like the Avengers of biblical storytelling. You want a movie to share with your family this Easter. This is it. You want something that can, you can watch that will uplift your spirits and give a great lesson at the same time. King of Kings. It hits theaters Friday, April 11th. Get your tickets now at angel.com/Beck, angel.com/Beck. Check it out now. King of Kings. It's angel.com/Beck.
Boy, Stu and I are, I don't know this has ever happened. Stu is worried that, he's like completely out of touch with people, and I'm just worried that I don't have a clue on what I'm talking about today. It's an odd, it is Black Monday. Just in a completely different way.
Soon you're going to be pitching sports monologues, and I'll be talking about theater.
But Trump planned it this way.
Oh.
That's part of his grand plan. Can we stop? Please, can we stop with that? Can we stop? Just let's take things at face value and know that he is pretty smart and he's got smart people around him. Let's not panic. Let's not panic.
This is Glenn Beck.